Hi, I'm Peter Caldas, President and CEO of the American Society on Aging, and welcome to Season 5 of FutureProof, ASA's webcast with changemakers in aging. This season, Lisa Marsh Ryerson, President of AARP Foundation, joins us as guest host of 5 episodes exploring innovative approaches to fighting poverty with leaders in the community and how these approaches can build opportunity across generations. We're delighted to be partnering with AARP Foundation on this series as we launch a year of programming on advancing economic security and how it intersects with aging, equity, and innovation. We hope you enjoy this episode, and please join us all season long.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Marsh Ryerson, the president of AARP Foundation, and thrilled to continue as the guest host on ASA's FutureProof, where we're talking in this series about senior poverty and whether or not it's solvable. My guest this week is a wonderful colleague and friend, Dr. Ruth Finkelstein, who is the Rose Dobrof Executive Director at the Brookdale Center for Healthy Aging at Hunter College. And also, Ruth continues to serve as a faculty member, as a professor at the School of Urban Public Health. Many of you know Ruth and you know her background, but it's important that I remind you that Ruth has guided my thinking and the thinking of many of us in the aging field about our life course and about this phenomenon of aging across the nation and across the world. No surprise then that Ruth has received numerous awards for her work and for her collaborations on truly groundbreaking initiatives, such as Columbia's Aging Center's Age Smart Employee Awards, Exceeding Expectations, a digital narrative of New Yorkers who are over age 80, and the New York Academy of Medicine's Age-Friendly New York City, which was the winner of the Best Age-Friendly Initiative in the world in 2012. Dr. Finkelstein has also won additional recognition. She was the recipient of the prestigious 2019 Maggie Kuhn Award, and she was named a 2016 Influencer in Aging and one of City and State's 2020 Outstanding Women. As it pertains to our conversation today, Ruth has been a leader in the Age-Friendly University Initiative and really jumped in as the leader in the United States to join this global movement. So we're going to be talking today, Ruth, about education, which is a field that we both share in an interest, and its critical, I would say, foundational core role in fighting poverty across all ages. But Ruth, good to see you.
Wonderful to see you.
I am thrilled to have you on this podcast. One thing that sustained me, Ruth, I haven't had a chance to share with you throughout the pandemic, 18 months now for me, is the number of times I've had a chance to tune in and hear talks and conversations that you've been having with others as we've thought about the disproportionate impact of the pandemic in communities across this nation. Not everyone knows about the age-friendly university movement. So what is age-inclusive education? If you just talk about the principles and your work in this space.
Thank you. I'm glad that you're including it in this series. I think it plays a critical role in how we think about our life course and how we think about creating new opportunities for people who have too few. So
Right.
I want to talk about everybody, and then I want to talk about some people even
Great.
more.
Great.
So the basic idea behind age-friendly universities or age-inclusive education is there's a couple of big ideas. One is that one dose of education doesn't last for a lifetime at this point in time. It might maybe have made sense when people lived to be 45 years old, that being educated for the first 10 or 15 years would probably keep. But now that we're living to 80 and 90 and 100, what are the chances that one dose administered for the last time before you turn 25 is sufficient to inform your curiosity, to help grow your mind, to keep you current on new ways of thinking and knowing and doing?
Yes.
And we have an educational system that is based on that complacency.
We
largely.
sure do. Put a pin in that point, Ruth. I think that has to frame the conversation we're having today, is that we talk, the two of us have spent big portions of our careers in the world of American higher education. But it's this notion, as you said, that we want to talk about lifelong learning, but the model isn't supporting lifelong learning.
That's right.
And then, as you said, and I'd like you to talk about, because the Age-Friendly University initiative really is global, people are locked out of opportunity. So when you think about American higher education or even global higher education, if you were locked out of opportunity as a young person,
Right.
then as you age, how do we build pathways that provide a continuum of access and of persistence and learning that is purposeful and actually leads to meaningful work?
Right. So first I have to do from my heart advertisement for my college and my university, because the value to me of the excellent public higher education system
Yes.
in creating opportunity for first generation people, for people who are first generation to college, and for second career learners is inestimable.
Yes.
Bad word,
Yes.
but Hunter College consistently is cited as one of the colleges and universities that do the most to change people's opportunities, to
Yes.
change their class basis, to change what they're able to do. And that's for people of all ages.
Of all ages, and in community, rooted in your New York community.
Right. And I feel that every university needs to take note of the salience of the mission of broadening the access of people, a wide range of people that
Yes.
they aren't thinking about, to the benefits of higher education, which are so profound. I mean, study after study, work after work tells us the same thing. If there is only one thing you can do to alleviate poverty, it is to improve education and access to education. And I don't believe that each institution of higher education holds that centrally in their heart as their mission.
Fortunately, many more institutions, not just of higher learning, but organizations, are committed to meaningful, equitable outcomes in their DEI work. But Ruth, I continue to be struck by the fact that age, that identity lens, is often left out of the conversation about diversity, equity, inclusion. One more point for me about your leadership at Hunter is that as a college born of supporting women who were left out and excluded from education, I think that you are uniquely positioned. I was the president of an historic women's college and Wells College, and that work sets us up for success in understanding populations who have barriers. And no surprise to you, Ruth, that in our work at AARP Foundation, I mean, you could cite this. Who is left behind? Who is most at risk for poverty? Older adults who are women with low educational attainment. So I
Absolutely.
want to underscore. And so talk to me about those barriers to building pathways. What are some interesting solutions that you're either investing in at Hunter or that you're seeing in the AgeFriendly network, or what should we be
Yeah.
considering?
Well, let me say one thing about access to Hunter. Hunter is the most academically selective of the schools in the CUNY system.
A liberal arts
people,
gem.
right, for people under 60. However, for people over 60, everyone can enroll for free in classes in which there is space. I need to say in which there is space,
in which there is
because
space. Yeah.
sometimes people get so disappointed when when there isn't space. But it's not well known that those people who may not have completed high school, those people who may not have, produced brilliant grades in 1950 when they, went to school last time, for those
They could join your
people,
class though, if you have space, is what you're telling me, whether or
Yes.
not they have a high school degree.
That's exactly right. And my classes are so enriched by the perspectives of multiple generations and multiple life experiences coming together and educating each other in a way that is organic. It's not sort of forced the way, well-intentioned programs where you bring the elementary school into the senior living community. And my image is just you're standing there in your scratchy wool coat and you're uncomfortable and these don't know what to say to. But in a class, we're in a shared endeavor, and they're all leaned in to understanding new concepts and bringing new examples forward to illustrate. And the intergenerational and interexperiential learning that happens is so profound. So I have, in my class, I have people who are native speakers of, 20 different languages, whose parents came from everywhere in the world, or they themselves did. I have older adults who are diplomats, older adults who've never worked outside the home at all, older adults who've never been to higher education, but are just sponges. That's
the age inclusive university model, and age friendly, with age being important, meaning all ages,
right?
As you always say. Ruth, what have you seen about other solutions that universities are engaging in, whether it's home sharing or micro credentialing or badging programs to have vulnerable older adults or learners of all ages be ready for the demands of the workforce of today?
I like to think about how do we make walls more permeable? All of our walls more permeable.
I love that.
So
to go both ways.
Exactly. I like to think about how can the university be in the community and community members be engaged in the university in multiple different ways. I like the idea of blurring that wall between this is part of a class and this is a community program. The idea of allowing, allowing people in a settlement house or a senior
Yes.
center or an apartment or a Zoom, you know, a Zoom
Yes.
screen to join into university activities and making university activities more broadly available. I don't think we've even scratched the surface of the opportunity that the crisis of this global pandemic
That's
has
right.
given us to let go of location and
Mhm.
place
Right.
in our programming and our conceptualization of learning. And we lose things. We lose an important visceral experience that occurs when we're in a room together. But the more we learn about how to virtually create that, the more we can be inclusive in who can
Yes.
experience it if and
If.
only if
Only
we
if.
pay attention to the access, the affordability, the support, and the training that people need.
I'm very appreciative of your conversation, your reminder to us that of where learning occurs and how, when you talk about degree programs or other programs, because the two of us know, and the viewers know, that we continue to think about attainment of degrees based on seat time. You know, you've
Right.
been somewhere in a seat in a hall, and you're saying blur that. Blur that.
Absolutely.
That's not what we're counting. What
Right.
we're building are pathways to opportunity and learning occurring in a variety of settings with an increasingly diverse group of learners and teachers.
Right.
That is should be happening in more spaces, is happening, right? You know that at Hunter and at other colleges and universities. But we have to, you know, how do we help the higher ed network understand
Right.
that our own resilience and thriving is tied to this notion of expanding our view.
And also expanding our view, not just to have this bifurcated view of when do you learn? So you learn when you're young, you learn when you're old. That's not right.
No,
You
that
need
is
the
not right.
opportunity to learn across the life course.
That's right.
And that's where I think non-degree oriented programming is particularly important. And I
Yes.
feel that in this country, we have done a particularly miserable job of figuring out how do we teach and train people for better jobs.
Right.
It's a function that we have sort of given to the workplace, but given them no tools and no resources and no incentives to execute that well. And unions were
Yes.
part of the counterbalancing structure in
Yeah.
management, which wasn't sort of enlightened enough to recognize that
Sure.
investing in their existing workers would yield more rewards than the cost. But as unions weakened, their influence on that system lessened, and no other institution has stepped up fully. The community colleges have that potential,
Yes.
but I think it is as yet very partially realized. And I think there we need to recognize, as you mentioned, certificates,
Yes.
specific training that is linked then to internship, mentorship, workforce opportunity.
Yes.
because it's so rudimentary and we don't really get the idea of a 40-year-old who went back to school and got this new sort of skill, we don't have the system that is the funnel or the channel to move them into a different place in the workplace and the workforce and their opportunity and the opportunity that their children will have for an improved education.
That's right.
Because this cumulative advantage and disadvantage is intergenerational.
We do know that if you can learn at work, if you work in a multi-generational workplace, all of that leads to you coaching in your workplace, mentorship, all of that leads to job satisfaction. Right. For all of the employees across generations. Right. But then we're expecting workplaces to get pedagogy. I mean, as you were talking, I would say, why would we expect that any department in a workplace would understand the most effective approach to help build education into that journey? So that gets to blurring, doesn't it?
Yes,
how do we
knock down the walls? That's the permeability again.
That
so
is the permeability.
Why can't a university, a college be in that workplace? Why can't that workplace be in the college and university?
That's right.
Why, and maybe, again, sort of stimulated by the gigantic disruption that the pandemic has been in thinking about ways of working, recognizing, of course, 75% of workers did not work from home. They worked from work. So the belief that we all worked from home is merely a
well, it's a very privileged position and a very privileged belief, which has led to the systems.
Right. It shows who controls the narrative that we have this like, oh, we were all at home. Yes. All the people that produce the content that we are consuming were working from home. But all the people that were in factories and hospitals and
grocery stores
and fields and grocery stores to produce the goods that made it so comfortable for us to be home were at work. But anyway, still saying there's been some opening in the rules and the understanding about how work happens. It's an opening that people have been trying to make happen forever. Talk about women and the fight for flex time.
That's right. That's
all that. But that's gotten a big boost, I think. And can we use that boost to blur the boundaries between education, training, work, and home?
I think you have, how that is such a significant idea and solution.
We have to be unbelievably intentional in thinking about what are the people which career paths, which neighborhoods, which communities will we be collaborating with in the design?
Where do we make the investment
and the execution? Right.
Well, again, you're reminding me, all of us, people first always.
Yeah.
So we cannot sit as educators or any one sector and design a solution in search of the problem. I agree with you wholeheartedly, Ruth, that this is about human-centered design at its core.
Right.
Talk to those out there who are thinking now more specifically about age-inclusive education. What are steps that our listeners in a variety of career fields or organizations could be taking to promote the idea?
Well, of course, the steps you can take depend on who you are and where you are. So speaking first to people in the field of higher education, I want to say to my colleagues the thing I say now in every talk I give, which is come out of the closet about your age.
That's right.
When we work to hide our age, we perpetuate the myth that older people are not competent workers, because competent workers are pretending to be young.
We now have the research, happy to say my colleagues at AARP have led a lot of it, that proves to all of us we have to include our age and identity, because multi-generational workplaces, living spaces, play spaces are productive, meaningful, purpose-driven places.
Right.
Good for the bottom line and good for the individuals. Our age is part of our identity always across the life course and needs to be included when we speak about the intersection of our identities, and must be included when we focus on sustainable advances in our diversity, equity, and inclusion work and driving outcomes.
Yes.
I'm telling you, Ruth, I could speak to you all day. I have delighted. You're just engaged in so many projects and in your teaching now that you said yes to me. What a pleasure, and more good work ahead together. Thank you.
I look forward to it.
Thank you, Ruth.
Bye.
Bye. It's such an honor to be a guest host on the FutureProof podcast with ASA. Thanks for joining me. And I hope you join me for our next episode, where I'll be talking with Dr. Tamara Payne, who is the Director of Career and Learning Services at Jefferson State Community College. And we're going to be talking about the importance of relationships to help low-income older adults find jobs and pathways to new opportunities. Look forward to talking to you again soon.